Welcome to Crimepedia. I am your host this week. My name is Morgan. I hope you are having a wonderful day. And with me, as always, is my lovely sidekick. She's also a host on her weeks. It's a lovely Cherry. Hello, Cherry.
Hello.
I didn't
How
want to
exciting.
understate your role on the show by saying you're a sidekick, because you're not.
I am this
You
week.
are this week.
I'm
And next week I
the
will be your
sidekick.
sidekick.
Yeah, I like it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Robin was
No.
Batman's sidekick. Nothing wrong with Robin.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at
Chris
all.
O'Donnell? Lovely.
I knew you were going to say Chris O'Donnell. I knew it.
He's the best
I
Robin,
knew it.
quite clearly. That's a subject for another time.
Another Crimepedia extra we can talk about. Chris
That's
O'Donnell's
a great idea.
Robin
Best
character.
top 5 sidekicks. I'm liking that one. That's a good one.
There you go. That is a good one. So I quickly want to say happy 4th of July to all of our American listeners. And if you are from the UK, our condolences.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. I hope you're all having a really good, safe festivities.
Yes, if you're playing with fireworks, be very, very,
Yes.
very careful. You don't want to lose any fingers, any toes.
No digits.
Be careful.
We have got a really lovely review this week, and I do love it when you guys review. Thank you so much. So this one is from, I think it says Flangle via Apple Podcasts, and this one says, after a random chat with Cherry at CrimeCon last year, I started listening and I'm hooked. I love the cases and the laid-back nature of this true crime podcast, where some of the others can get a bit heavy. Highly recommended. Well, thank you so much. It was a 5-star review, and that's really lovely of you. Thank you very much for doing that. We really, really appreciate it.
Yep, and we have 2 new Patreons to thank. We have Rachel, who
hey,
joined
Rachel.
us shortly after CrimeCon. Rachel from Wales, and we have Abby, who just said that she'd been a long-time listener, decided to sign up.
Aww.
And she listened to our bonus episode, our Crimepedia extra from last week, and she said, weirdly, she has done over 80 escape rooms. So obviously,
wow,
it was meant to be. So
it was meant to be. So
last week we talked about escape rooms.
We did. And also on our Crimepedia Extra, one of our Crimepedia Patreons didn't realize that we have a whole separate thread of extra episodes. And I won't name her. You know who you are. And so she has been catching up on, I don't know how many we've got. We've got loads. So she's been catching up on all the bonus content that she didn't realize that we had. So if you want a little bit more of Crimepedia, but not as serious as this show is, you can catch up with us on Patreon and find us there. Sign up, and then you'll get lots of bonus stuff as well.
Absolutely. So how about we jump into this week's episode?
Let's go.
In May 1983, the disappearance of a 17-year-old girl prompted the community of Lindenhurst, New York, to unite in their efforts to locate her. Fortunately, after a week had passed, she was found safe and reunited with her family. However, the following year, in May 1984, another young girl, aged 14, vanished from the same town. Tragically, this time the response from the community took a different turn. Instead of rallying together to aid in the search, the town appeared to impede the investigation. Fast forward almost 4 decades, and the case remains shrouded in secrecy, leaving unanswered questions lingering in the air. This is Crimepedia, and this is the case of Laura Ann Parker. All right, Cherry. Laura Ann Parker was a 14-year-old freshman at Lindenhurst High School in Lindenhurst, New York. Now, this is a small village and was home to around 28,000 residents back in 1984. It is located on Long Island in Suffolk County. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong impression, even though this Lindenhurst is very small.
Uh-huh.
It is, once again, on Long Island. Long Island is extremely populated. So there's large populations around them. It's really close to New York City. Well,
Okay.
let me take that back. It is a part of New York City. It's really close to Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan. So it's just a small village that's in a very populated part of the country. All
Okay.
right. Now, Laura's parents, James and Patricia Parker, held a strong bond with their daughter. Now, Laura had an older sister named Kathleen who required constant care due to intellectual difficulties. After birth of Kathleen, Jim and Patricia would try to have another child, but would end up adopting Laura after suffering numerous miscarriages. Now, eventually, Jim and Patricia would give birth to a son named James Jr., whom Laura cherished and actively assisted in caring for. Now, Laura was a kind, affectionate girl who possessed an energetic nature and was highly sociable. She had a genuine desire for others to like her, and she would always engage in acts of kindness for her friends. Now, she was a typical teenager of the 80s, so she would participate in a lot of school activities such as school choir and was a member of the softball team. Now, in the free time, she dedicated herself to volunteering for a mental health organization inspired by her sister Kathleen's struggles. So,
Oh,
um,
that's really nice. So yeah, so just because of how her sister is, she's obviously donating her time to help with stuff. That's a really lovely thing to do.
I mean, and honestly, it takes a special type of a special type of kid to do things like that with
Yeah.
volunteering.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot. I know a lot of kids do volunteer work because they have to,
Mm.
but to do something like that because you want to and it's something that you're passionate in, it's not
Yeah.
seen very often in teenagers. So
No.
um, so definitely she did have some really strong motivations into doing that. Now, although Laura's father Jim had told her that she couldn't start dating until she was the till the age of 16,
Mm.
she did develop a close bond with a boy named Michael. Okay.
Aw.
Now the two would spend significant amount of time together, with Laura believing that her parents were unaware of the relationship. However, Jim and Patricia were well aware of it, but did
Of
not
course they
consider it to
were.
be a matter that needed
Of course they
immediate
were.
attention. Parents always know, kids. Parents will always know.
If you're a kid and you're listening to this, your parents always know, trust me, always.
Hmm. Yeah, especially that day and age, and this is mid '80s, so you
Your
don't have
parents
the
have been
benefit of
kids.
having a right. You don't have the benefit of having a cell phone and being able to text someone back and forth,
That's
and
right.
your parents not aware.
Yeah.
If if Michael's calling to the house, he's talking to mom or dad before he's talking to Laura, so they're well
Yeah.
aware of what's going on here. Now, Laura had struggled academically throughout her freshman year, but this wasn't due to a lack of intelligence, but rather difficulties with school keeping her attention. This sounds like
Okay.
to me. This sounds like me, right? So
Okay.
this sounds like maybe ADD, ADHD. I had the same struggles where I just lost. I was not bored, but I just lost. I didn't have focus. I didn't have the focus to
Yeah.
sit there all day, right?
Yeah.
So my mind was in a million different places, just not school where it needed to be.
Mm.
Now, at the same time, Laura did start going through a rebellious phase. It wasn't a serious rebellious phase, but I think it's something that most kids go through where they want to seek
Yeah.
their independence a little bit.
A character building.
Yeah. So Jim and Patricia weren't too particularly concerned about her rebellion and about her difficulties in school. They had this belief that things would improve the following school year.
Yeah.
She's getting older, maturing,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and let's be honest, like going into high school is a big jump for a lot of kids, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going from your middle
Yeah.
school years, right? When you're 11, 12, 13 to high school. That's a huge jump. So It's a lot of
Everything
pressure
changes
too.
at that
So
age. Everything changes at that
everything
age. There's a lot
changes.
of hormones and you're aware of yourself more and things are
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more pressure on you and and you're going up to where you're considered you're not a kid anymore, you're kind of growing up, but you're not really grown up yet. It's that really like weird
Yeah.
in the middle thing. And I think when you become an adult, you forget about that struggle. You forget about the time where those silly things that we see as an adult see as a silly thing is everything to that teenager. And it's
Mm-hmm.
huge. Like as an adult, you'd look at it and go, "Oh, don't be so silly." But to that teenager, that's like the end of the world or that kind of thing. So I think you forget
Mm-hmm.
as you get older and get on with life and you're an adult
Yeah.
and with this work and everything else, you kind of forget that how big minor things are to you as a teenager.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you know what? We've all gone through it in one way or another.
Yeah.
Everyone has
Yeah.
goes through those times, goes through those awkward
Yeah.
stages.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I'm to the point now. Like at least I mean your daughter's older. So, but I have a daughter who's 9, gonna be 10, and I'm now going through that phase where it's like I'll try to give her advice or tell her something, but she like will say, "Oh,
She's
you
not
don't
going to listen
understand" or
to
whatever.
you.
Like no, no, no. No, absolutely not. But it's like I was a kid. I I was a kid once. I know how things go, and I know So it's like I'm not
Yeah.
completely dumb to it. But no, absolutely won't listen at all.
No.
Now, on the morning of Wednesday, May 23rd, 1984, this is towards the end of the school year. So school year probably was going
Yeah.
to end in the next week or so, right? Jim would wake up early to prepare for work as a mechanic at JFK Airport. Now, his shift was scheduled to begin at 6 a.m. So at around 5:30 a.m., Jim entered Laura's bedroom to wake her up. Now, Laura did like to be woken up before her father left for work so that it gave her time to dry and style her hair. That's very, very important this time, right?
Very
Make sure your
80s.
hair is
Yeah.
looking really,
Yeah.
very good. Yeah, hair needs to look on point and needs to look unbelievable. Now, Laura would sit up on the edge of her bed, and Jim would lean over to kiss her on the forehead before wishing her a good day at school. Now, having recently completed the construction of a deck in their backyard, Jim suggested to Laura that she invite friends over for a gathering on the newly finished deck. Laura obviously was really excited and would tell Jim that she loved him before he left for work. Now, while Laura got herself ready for school, Patricia abruptly woke up with a terrible sense that she would never see Laura again. Okay.
What?
Now, she had a dream that night. Now this would come out in some interviews with newspapers that she had a dream
Mm.
the night of the 22nd, 23rd, that something was going to happen and she was never going to see Laura again. So it was like one of those dreams where it's not like something actively is happening. It's just that feeling that you get. Have you ever had a dream
Yeah.
like that where you just get this just
It's
it
like
could be
impending
anything. But
doom. Yeah.
yeah, so she woke up thinking, "Oh, something's wrong. I'm not going to see Laura again." And so it woke her up. She gets up. Um, she would then make her way into the kitchen to brew a cup of coffee. Now Laura would come into the kitchen, and at the time she was wearing white jeans paired with a green and white tank top that said "Hang 10" on it. Once again, very 80s.
Cool. Yeah.
Um, Now, despite it being late May, there was a really chilly wind that morning. The wind was coming off the ocean at somewhere around 20 miles an hour, so it's quite chilly. And Patricia was concerned about Laura's outfit being unsuitable for the weather, so she instructed her to put something more appropriate on. Laura would comply by putting on her school jacket before saying goodbye and walking out the front door. Now, this would be the last time that either Laura's parents would see her. All right.
She was what age?
14.
14. Okay. Yeah.
And so Laura did arrive at school at her usual time that morning and attended all her morning classes without any noticeable um, issues popping up. So everything seemed completely normal with her. Before lunch, she would go to her locker where she kept her makeup kit, purse, diary, and reading glasses. She would then make it to the cafeteria for lunch break, where she sat with her best friend, Anne Marie Vitali. Now, she would tell Anne Marie her exciting news about the party that her father had allowed her to host on the new deck.
Yeah.
Now, Anne Marie would later recall that Laura appeared very cheerful and full of energy that morning, describing her as lively and enthusiastic. So, of course, she wants to have all her
Yeah,
friends
she's
come over. She's
excited,
really
yeah.
excited. So things seem completely normal. Now, regarding Laura's activities after lunch, the information becomes somewhat unclear due to conflicting accounts provided by classmates.
Oh,
Some
okay.
students reported seeing Laura during the final period of classes, suggesting that she had attended all of her afternoon classes as well. However, there were also reports indicating that the last sightings of Laura actually occurred during the lunch break. All right. Now, in
Right.
1984, Lindenhurst High School operated as an open campus, which meant that students were allowed to leave the school premises during their lunch break.
Okay.
Several several students mentioned that Laura had invited them to hang out with her off campus during lunch break, but none of them actually accepted the invitation. According to Suffolk County Police, the last confirmed sighting of Laura took place at 12:10 p.m. So during the lunch period. So lunch would have started
Right.
somewhere around 12 o'clock. So last
Yeah.
reported sighting of her was probably within 10 to 15 minutes of her class or her lunch break starting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there was initially no immediate cause for concern when Laura failed to arrive home after school. Now, it was known that she had softball practice scheduled right after class, and it was common for her to spend some time talking with friends before eventually making her way home. However, as evening approached and it was time for dinner, both Jim and Patricia began to grow increasingly worried. It was quite unusual for Laura to be so late, particularly without contacting them to inform them of where she was.
Yeah.
They would start to reach out to Laura's friends, only to discover that nobody had seen her since that afternoon. They also decided to contact a school where they were informed that Laura had not attended the scheduled softball practice that day.
Oh, no.
Now, this revelation intensified Jim and Patricia's worry, leaving them with the unsettling realization that something was seriously wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, at this point,
We kind of take it for
so
granted
no
nowadays
one.
that you can get in touch with your kids so easily, with mobile phones
Mhm,
now, that you got instant communication with them. They can just text you and say, I'm on my way to softball, or yeah, I'm okay, I'll see you in a bit. We take that for granted
right.
now. And back then that's quite obviously they didn't have the foresight of social media and stuff, but back then when you just trust that your kid's going off to softball and that they're going to, when they're finished, that's when they're finished. And obviously in a case like this
Right.
where you're looking back thinking, oh my god, had I have just checked, had she finished school properly, like, and gone on to softball, had I just checked,
Mhm.
we could have been looking for her a lot earlier. It must be awful for them to have that going through their minds.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to jump back real quick. Just I understand that you are going to have different witness statements. People are
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
see things differently. But the how different the you have one group of people saying, "Oh yeah, she was in a last period class," versus I last saw her at lunch and she wanted to hang off campus. It's kind of like
And we're talking
I
about
don't
kids
know.
though, aren't we? We're talking about
We
teenagers that
are.
they're not reliable. We know through looking back through reports, police reports, kids aren't always the
Hmm.
best, most reliable witnesses for age related things, for time related things.
Yeah.
So it's difficult when the witnesses that you've got are all kids, basically. So it's a
Yeah.
tough job for the police there.
Now I don't know how you're like when you were in school around this age, like how your class schedule worked. But I seem to I mean, maybe because it was the end of the year, maybe teachers weren't taking attendance as seriously, but you would think
Yeah.
that if she had missed a class or hadn't been in class, that a teacher would have at least marked her as being absent. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing that's confusing because if they're actually taking attendance in class, then we should have a pretty solid
Yeah.
idea of where she was, or
Oh, that's right. And
if
when she wasn't somewhere.
exactly. So that's the one curious thing that I have for it. It might, like I said, it might be the fact that it is towards the end of the school year, so teachers are, teachers are just like kids. They're ready for the spring break to come up as
Yeah.
well. So maybe
Yeah.
they're not as strict with keeping attendance. But you would think at
Mm.
least if they didn't keep attendance, you would be able to at least go to one of the teachers and say, "Hey, did you see Laura during your class period?"
I'm sure the police would have
You would,
done that. Surely
yeah,
they would have gone through
exactly.
and checked with all the teachers whether she was actually in their classes that day. They'll
So
know
that's
her
what makes it
schedule.
interesting. Where the police
Yeah.
actually said the last confirmed sighting was at 12:10 p.m. So I think we kind of have to go with that
That
timeline,
she
right? Where
yeah, she didn't make her last classes then, by the sounds of things.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Now Jim would contact the Suffolk County Police Department explaining the details of the situation and requesting to file a missing persons report for his daughter. Now this shouldn't be a shock to anyone. The police response to this was somewhat dismissive, suggesting that
Yeah.
if a 14-year-old hadn't returned home, she was possibly with friends or had chosen to run away, assuming she would eventually come home on her own.
Yeah, of course.
That's, I mean, especially this time period in the 80s, that's probably the normal course of action, right? Just like, oh,
Yeah.
don't, she's a teenager, she's 14, she'll
She'll
come
come
back when she's ready
home.
to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm Yeah. Now Jim wasn't thrilled with this response that he got from Suffolk County, and determined to seek assistance. He urgently persuaded the police department to take the matter seriously. Now, these efforts, of course, did pan out a little bit, where police department would eventually agree to dispatch units to initiate a search for Laura.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that these were like the most serious of searches. So they did send out units to like the high school to look around the high school to see if they could see her. And so they basically were just kind of like driving around the area, driving through the neighborhood, seeing if they would, catch sight of her. So it was just
Yeah.
one of those situations where it's like, let's just keep, be on the lookout for her. And if you see someone or you see her or someone that looks like her, just, find out what's going
Get in
on.
touch with us.
Yes. Now, Jim would then turn his attention to the FBI, right? Who he
Okay.
contacted and requested their assistance in locating Laura. Now, the FBI actually would send out an agent to Lindenhurst to conduct interviews and try to locate the teen. So, um, so Jim was determined, and he
Yeah.
got some action going on. So you have police out there. At least they have some crews out, or they have some people in cars driving around looking for her. And then he got the FBI to go out and at least start doing some sort of investigation.
Because as a parent, if your daughter is not coming home and you know that's unusual for your daughter, it would be really
hmm
frustrating to have law enforcement say to you, "Oh, she's just a teenager. She'll come back." Because if it's out of the ordinary, you know your kid. If it's out of the ordinary for your kid, but nobody's doing anything, that must be really
hmm
frustrating. And I can understand it from law enforcement's point of view because 9 out of 10 teens that do go missing are found within a few hours and
Right.
everything's fine, but there's always that chance that this could be the one time that that's not the case. And you're wasting precious hours or precious time
hmm
not looking for that kid. So, I mean, good for him. That was, that's, that's pretty admirable that he just kept going and fighting
Yeah.
to try and get them because he knows his daughter's not that kind of kid.
Yeah. And for him to actually get in touch with the FBI and have the FBI agree to send out
Yeah.
an agent is really
Yeah.
impressive, because
That's really
FBI
good.
doesn't do that. I mean, because they don't even know if this is within their jurisdiction. They don't know the
Mm,
circumstances with it. But for him to be that determined
yeah.
to get some action done to get it is
Yeah.
it's really impressive.
Good for him.
It's really impressive. Now, by the following morning, news of Laura's disappearance began to circulate within the halls of Lindenhurst High School, and of course, this would spark a fury of different rumors. Now, these speculations range from Laura running off with an older man to her falling victim to a serious crime. In the following days, both the FBI and Suffolk County Police conducted numerous interviews with students and teenagers from the surrounding area. While most of those questioned asserted that they had not seen Laura since the previous day, some individuals allege encountering her in the hours and days following her disappearance. Certain accounts placed her in the vicinity of the neighborhood, while others claimed to have engaged in conversation with her, during which Laura Laura would reveal her intentions to run away from home without any intention of returning. Okay. Now, as a result of these interviews, the FBI made the determination that Laura had simply run away and that
Oh
they no
no.
longer needed to be involved in the investigation. So,
Oh, you've got to be so careful when you provide a witness statement. You've got to be absolutely 100% sure of what you're saying,
mhm.
haven't you? Because that can lead an investigation in completely the wrong direction, which is really, really sad.
And this is what absolutely happened in this case, where
Yeah.
you
I can
have
hear it
teenagers
building
who
already. I've just got that dread that, you know, they've given.
it's just
Yeah.
it's rumors, and people are hearing rumors, and then people
Yeah.
they're
Regurgitating rumors
speculating,
and
and that
yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And so then by the time the FBI and the police are getting involved, they're hearing all this information. They're thinking,
Yeah.
well, there's nothing else to go on, so this is the best we have, and it seems like she just
And
ran away.
you can't blame them for that because the information they're being given is looking like she's just run away. So you can't blame them for taking that information from all these different people and coming to a conclusion with it, because that's what investigation is. That's what, detective
Mhm.
work is. It's speaking to people, it's taking statements from people, it's piecing those all together. And if what you're piecing together, because what you're being given is leading one way, you're not just going to say this doesn't work, I'm going that way instead. You're going to follow your nose and follow the leads that you've got. Sadly,
Yeah, you have
that's
to.
yeah, soul destroying. That's
I
just
mean,
really sad.
I mean, I it, I mean, it's frustrating, but I can't blame them.
No, not at
If they have
all.
nothing
No.
else to go if you have
Yeah.
nothing else to go off of, then they that's what they have to go off.
That's yeah.
You cannot continue investigating ghosts, right?
No,
You
that's
can't,
right.
at some point you have to make a determination, and
Yeah.
you have to go with it. I mean,
Yeah.
for right or wrong, you have to.
Yeah.
Now, Suffolk County Police, along with school administrators, both agreed with the belief that Laura had run away. Now, they would pass along this assessment not only to Jim and Patricia, but also to students and their families, stating that her disappearance was not the result of an abduction or foul play, but that she had simply run away. Now, because of this, all official search efforts for Laura ceased.
Sit down. Yeah. Did that?
So everything
Earlier
was shut down.
earlier on you said that in her locker at school she kept like her
hmm
makeup and her
hmm
toiletries
Her
and stuff like
purse.
that, and her purse and
Yep.
everything. Was all of her stuff still in her locker?
Yes, everything was still in her locker.
So that to me doesn't sound like someone that's run away. Like my immediate gut
Mm-mm.
feeling with that is not someone that's run away, especially having been a
No.
teenage girl. Looking at that, I would think I wouldn't have left that stuff behind. If I was running away, I'd be taking certain stuff with me, and your purse and your makeup and your that kind of stuff that would be coming with you. So that I find
Yeah,
that very strange. When you said that earlier, I thought, oh, I wonder if that had gone with her. So that's
it
interesting
did
that she
not.
left that behind. Yeah.
hmm
I had a funny
No,
feeling you were going to
everything.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, everything was left. Everything was left.
Yeah.
Now, also because of this thought that she had just simply run away,
Hmm.
neighbors and friends, which have now been influenced by the opinions of the police and the school officials, gradually started to withdraw from participating in in any of the searches with the family, assuming that Laura had chosen to venture out on her
No.
own and would eventually return home on her own.
No. No, people. Listen to mum and dad.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this one decision on saying that she had simply run away has made huge, huge
Yeah.
ripples in this
Yeah.
whole investigation, this whole search.
Yeah.
And, and honestly, it doesn't get any better for the family at this point. It doesn't get any better. Now, left on their own, Jim and Patricia took it upon themselves to exhaustively pursue any leads that emerged. whenever local teenagers claimed to have spotted Laura, they would start patrolling those areas, approaching anyone they encountered to ask about their daughter's whereabouts.
You would be desperate.
They would plaster. Oh, extremely
You
desperate.
would be absolutely desperate. Those poor parents.
Yeah. So, and I mean, at this point, they're doing everything on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not getting any help from really anyone.
No.
They would plaster the town with flyers with Laura's picture and description. They would reach out to newspapers, granting interviews and trying to get any sort of coverage from television and radio stations about her disappearance. However, these efforts were usually dismissed after reporters, upon consulting with police, were informed that was merely a runaway situation and not a matter of concern.
The thing, I mean, let me ask you this. As an adult, as a law enforcement, surely a 14-year-old kid, even as a runaway, surely that you need to have a regard for their safety, because they're 14 years old. Had they have been 17, 18, slightly different, but they're 14. They're still minors by a long shot.
They're a child.
Exactly. Why isn't that still being investigated as to the maximum that it can, even though they don't think that she's under any kind of duress or she's been taken from anyone? Why aren't they finding her anyway? If it's somebody over the age of 18, you can say, well, look, they're an adult. They can do that if they want to. They can go away and not tell you. But this is a child.
Yes. It is. You're absolutely right.
Why the hell aren't they still looking for her? Locate her anyway. And if she's run away, take her home to her parents. Investigate why she's run away. Yeah. There's a reason if that's the case. If she's unhappy at home and there's an issue at home, then investigate that. But find out where she is and make sure that she's safe. You can hear how angry I am. It's just...
Even if you're done, you're not investigating it anymore, why would you hinder the parent search? Why would you go and tell newspapers and radio and television stations, oh, she just run away, it's not a big issue, it's not an issue that you need to worry
she's run
about.
away.
Why would
she's
you do
a kid. She's a kid that's run away. She's out there on her own somewhere or with somebody. She's not legally, she's not entitled to be out on her own. It's not safe. No matter how grown up she thinks she is, if she's run away, this should still be investigated. They should still locate her just to clarify that she's safe and that she's she's alive. I mean, I just don't understand that. I mean, what's the age cutoff for this? What's the age cutoff? A 10-year-old? Is that, she just run away? Well, what's the difference between a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old? What's the cutoff?
No.
Because damn sure that if that was an 8-year-old, they'd all be looking for them because they're,
Oh no, absolutely.
So what's the cutoff? 14 is still a child. It's crazy.
It is a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. A child who has really very limited ways of taking care of him or herself, right?
Well, yeah.
They can't go out and get a job at 14.
No. That's right. Where's their money coming from? How are they eating? Where are they sleeping? Where is this crime? Right. Because the chances are a young girl like that out there on her own is going to fall prey to somebody who's not got her best intentions at heart, who's going to ply her with money, show her what a great time they can take care of her, and they're going to get her into some bad kind of situations. So surely, as an adult, we've got a responsibility to find that child, know that she's safe, know where she is, because kids can't just leave their parents at 14. It doesn't work like that.
Right. And if you're like, oh, she just ran away, and if she's not with any of her friends, or family, who the hell
has she run away with?
Yeah. There should be a huge amount of concern about this, regardless if she just ran away or not.
So now they're sort of they're hindering the parents. So what happened next?
Yep. Well, the parents, of course, are completely dissatisfied with this perceived, I don't even call it perceived lack of effort.
Yeah.
Because it's not perceived.
No.
They are absolutely dissatisfied with the lack of effort from the Suffolk County Police Department. Okay.
Yeah.
So they obviously would take matters into their own hands. They decided to start including their own home telephone number on the flyers that they're posting around town.
Yeah.
Hoping that they would be more effective in investigating leads than the police. And you know what? They are absolutely right.
Good.
right? I mean, the
Good.
police aren't doing anything.
No.
So they're like, we're going to do this on our own. Now, they would receive a call from a truck driver who claimed to have spotted a young girl resembling Laura wandering the streets of Manhattan. Now, prompted by this potential sighting, Jim would immediately head into the city and
Oh,
began patrolling the streets for a week. So for a week, he just went up and down streets looking for her. Now, at one
God.
point, Jim would catch sight of an individual who bore an uncanny resemblance to Laura while sitting in his car. Now, as the young woman approached, Jim prepared himself to grab her, but as she got closer, he would realize that it was not Laura.
Yeah.
Now, this would absolutely devastate him. I
Yeah.
mean, you feel like you're so close and you feel like she's right there to only say, no, it's not. I mean, it
Yeah.
completely devastated him. It tore him apart.
It's
And
horrible.
after making no significant progress in finding his daughter, Jim reluctantly returned home to Long Island. Now, including their home telephone number on these flyers would also lead to some moments of real cruelty and
Yeah, I bet.
frustration.
Yeah.
About a month after Laura went missing, Jim did receive a phone call from a girl who said, and I quote, "Daddy, will you come get me?" Now, while asking the caller where she was, Jim began to hear another girl in the background laughing. So they would start getting numerous prank calls from people about the disappearance of their daughter,
I never
including this
understand
one
that.
where they pretend to be her.
I never understand that. And to be fair, we've spoken to a lot of victims' families, and a lot of them say that. A lot of them say that they will get messages from people, or they'll get phone calls, or they'll get emails from people either pretending to be that person or pretending to know where that person is, and it turns out that it's actually just a hoax. How I don't understand. Even as a teenager, I would not have done that. I don't think it's funny.
Mm-mm.
I don't see
It's not.
what kicks you're getting out of that. I don't understand it, and I think I think there should be prosecution for things like that, because I think it's cruel. It's very, very
It is.
cruel.
It's horrific, and kids can be absolutely horrible sometimes, right? But
Yeah,
to do stuff like this, to
yeah,
like
that's just
torment a
horrific.
family, a mom and dad who
Yeah,
are completely devastated, is just it's not
yeah,
right at
no,
all.
it's horrific.
Like if I was a parent and I found out that my kid had done something like that,
Oh wow,
I would. I mean, it would
you'd
be
be
beyond being embarrassed,
yeah, you would be absolutely
furious. I
mortified.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
you would.
like you could never, apologize enough, and you couldn't,
No, no. Poor
I can't
Jim.
believe people
That's awful.
did this.
No,
It's terrible.
I can't.
Now, in addition to these prank calls, the Parkers would also face a lot of adversity from the actual local community. Some parents would start telling their kids not to cooperate with the police at all and to not provide them with any information. Detectives would describe the community's involvement as poor, stating that they really gave them absolutely nothing to work with.
Yeah.
Even after the Parkers offered a $1,000 reward for information that could lead to Laura's safe return home, no solid information was received. By the middle of July, calls had basically stopped coming in, and the Suffolk County Police Department officially closed the investigation.
Oh
So
no. Yeah. Closed down.
it it's strange to me that a community would not, stand by the Parker
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, it's
A
strange.
family that's being, day in and day out, they have to wake up not knowing what happened to their daughter, not knowing where
Yeah.
their daughter is, and to have other adults tell their kids, don't cooperate or
Yeah.
don't provide the police any information. I
Strange.
don't understand that
No, it's
mindset at
strange.
all. Even even if she had simply run away, like why wouldn't you want to help, them find her and
Yeah.
figure out where she is?
Yeah.
So it is very, very strange. On Monday, September 10th, 1984, Jim was surprised by an unexpected visit from two detectives representing the Suffolk County Police. They would inform him that Laura had been located, but any glimmer of hope was quickly extinguished. Jim was told that Laura was dead. A body had been discovered by three teenagers in a wooded lot, commonly referred to as the Hut, situated near the intersection of Monroe Avenue and Frank Street in Lindenhurst. Now, the Hut was a mere 3 miles north of where the Parkers lived on South 7th Avenue and just 2.5 blocks away from Lindenhurst High School, where Laura was last seen.
Okay.
Now, this area was a popular spot amongst teenagers, and it featured a hole dug approximately 4.5 feet deep and 11 feet in diameter.
Okay.
Part of the hole was covered with plywood, providing a concealed space where young people could gather, hidden from view. Some kids would use this to hang out and talk, while others use it as a place to smoke cigarettes and marijuana.
Okay.
Now, on the morning of September 10th, 1984, three 12-year-old boys had gone to the hut with plans of cleaning it up. While discarding broken wooden pieces and empty boxes, their attention was drawn to a piece of rolled-up carpet. As they attempted to lift it, they realized it was unexpectedly heavy. Their curiosity piqued. They noticed a protruding pink shoe, and upon peeling back a section of carpet, made the startling discovery of a human skull. Overwhelmed by the shocking find, the three boys would quickly return home to inform a parent of the discovery. Once it was determined that they were telling the truth, a call was placed to 911, prompting the dispatch of police officers to the location. Upon arrival, law enforcement discovered the severely decomposed remains, which they believed belonged to a teenager. Only fragments of clothing remained, clinging to the skeletal structure. Based upon descriptions provided by the Parkers, the authorities were able to determine that the clothing on the body closely resembled what Laura had been wearing on the day she went missing. Jim would go down to the scene with detectives where he witnessed the body being removed in a single duffel bag. So not a body bag.
No, duffel bag.
A small single duffel bag. Although the police couldn't definitively establish with absolute certainty that it was Laura, compelling circumstantial evidence pointed towards the remains belonging to the missing teenager. The Parkers would be informed that they would need copies of Laura's dental records in order to confirm the identity. Now, speaking to the media, John F. Gallagher, chief of detectives for Suffolk County Police, would state that they did not know the cause of death, but had a feeling that she may have died of natural causes. How?
How do you make that assumption?
You can't. So why does he say that? We have no idea. No idea. Now, the following day brought confirmation from police that the body recovered from the hole belonged to Laura Parker. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, including the lack of any vital organs, determining the cause of death provided challenging.
Yeah.
Notably, the absence of evident severe injuries such as fractures, broken bones, knife wounds, or gunshot wounds puzzled the investigators. While law enforcement acknowledged the possibility of natural causes, investigators did actually hold doubts about this explanation. The discovery that someone had taken the time to cover Laura's body with a piece of carpet suggested the involvement of at least one individual who was aware of its presence and sought to conceal it. Investigators were able to rule out robbery as a motive, since Laura's rings and gold chains were found on her body.
I don't think it's very responsible to come out and say it could be natural causes so quickly into an investigation. My initial thought is this is a place where kids hang out, okay? People discard stuff, and I'm wondering whether this is this could have been not an intentional murder. This could have been kids messing around with a piece of rolled up carpet, and she has ended up suffocating because she's been too tightly wound inside this carpet. The kids have then panicked, and then they've left her there because they've just panicked and run. So I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think you can straight away make the assumption that this is A, a natural death, or B, that there is something nefarious that's gone on here. I don't think you have to investigate those possibilities, but I don't think you can say that outright straight away. There needs some investigation before you can say anything like that in public. Because there could be some really scared kids at
No,
home
exactly.
that have been involved in a game or something that's gone really wrong, that are very frightened and aren't talking because they're frightened they're going to get in
Right.
trouble.
Exactly. Exactly. The other thing that kind of has taken me back, you know, and
Yeah.
I question, like, why wasn't she found sooner? Because it's been 4 months, so she's missing 4 months, right? When they discover her,
Yeah.
this we'll call it Hole the Hut. The hole, I mean, it's a small place. I mean, it's not that big. Yeah, the diameter is 11 feet, right? So
That's not that big. And also,
it's
surely
not that big.
all the adults know about that place. Surely the
Yes, they
local
do.
police know about that place. So why aren't they
Yes, they do.
checking normal kid hangouts? Or maybe they did. Maybe
Exactly.
they did check that area and she's been
And they
there put
didn't
there
and they didn't see her.
afterwards. Yeah, yeah. Or they've not checked properly.
But
Could be another Ashley Dighton thing where they didn't check properly.
what's the thing that we're always told about this about bodies decomposing and about the smell particularly? Like, it's a
Yeah, it's
smell that
horrific.
you can't
Yeah.
forget. It's a
It's horrific
horrific
and it
smell.
travels for a
So we're
long way.
so this is a spot that kids over the course of 4 months had been in and out of, playing
Yeah.
in, messing around
Yeah.
in. Laura's body was there the whole time. So police did come forward and say they believe that she had died on the day that she disappeared. So it wasn't a situation where she had died elsewhere and was brought back and concealed. So she had been there since May 23rd. The body had been there since May 23rd. To go into a place like that where not only is it, not that big, you it's concealed, you have plywood over it, so the smell is just going to linger in there.
Yeah.
How did no one think to,
Yeah.
notify anyone about
That's
it?
right. Yeah.
It had to have been absolutely horrific. The smell had to have
Yeah,
been
that's not yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. And that's awful as a parent to have thought that your baby has been there, 3 miles from home the whole time. That
Yeah,
is worrying. That's really upsetting for them to think that she was just there rolled in that carpet. And it's a wonder, did she get rolled in a carpet as part of some game and something happened
right.
and they that I don't know why that straight away it just strikes me as that it's not necessarily um an intended murder, although
Right.
that's going to go through your head. It just from the place that she was found, where the kids always go.
Mhm.
I'm very surprised that no law enforcement, and I'm quite surprised the family didn't go and check there, like the regular
Right.
hangouts of all the kids. So I'm quite surprised that
Mhm.
nobody checked that area, considering everybody seemed to know about it.
Oh, yeah. And with a popular area, and
Yeah,
this doesn't seem like an area that she would have gone to on her own. So,
no, and other
like,
kids,
my
they
initial
must have been able to smell it. It's awful.
yeah. Like, I feel like this is a place that she would have been gone to prior, that she was
Yeah,
aware of, that other kids in the school had gone to.
yeah,
So it's just really strange that she was there the
and we're
whole
still
time,
going
and
to.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it took 4 months, and it took 3 12-year-old boys to decide, yeah, let's clean it up a little bit to discover her.
Wow. That's awful. You're telling me nobody else could smell that the whole time they were there? I don't believe that.
Exactly.
I don't believe it.
No, and think about this too. Like, she's rolled up in carpet, going through the seasons. You're gonna have rain. That
Yeah.
carpet
3
had to been
months is a long
absolutely
time.
disgusting,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that carpet on its own would have a horrendous smell to it, just being out in the elements
Yeah,
like that.
maybe.
So I don't know. It's just very strange that it took that long for her to be
Yeah, to
discovered
find
and
her.
to be
Yeah.
so close. To be
Yeah,
so
that's
close, and
horrible.
no one knew she was there, and no one reported her being there. Well, someone knew she was there, right, before she was found, and they decided not
I don't think
to
you
say
roll
anything.
yourself up in carpet that tight. I don't think that's
No,
something you would just do yourself if you were there on your own. I don't think that's something that you would partake in. Maybe boys, but I just don't. I can't see a teenage girl just going, "Oh, look, carpet. I'm going to roll myself up in it." It doesn't. I don't think that's the case. This is. There
no,
seems to me that this would be quite evident that somebody else knows what happened that day.
right. You're not playing hide and go seek and going, "Oh, I'm gonna get in this carpet. I'm gonna roll myself up as tightly as possible, and
No,
it's gonna be the
I
best
don't
spot
think
ever."
so.
No,
I don't think
no, no,
so.
no. Now, investigation into Laura Parker's death would be assigned to two homicide detectives who shared a strong ties to the Lindenhurst community. These were Mike Carmardi and John Falgraff. I apologize if I
Okay.
say those names incorrectly. Now, both the detectives were Lindenhurst High School alumni and had boasted a collective experience of 38 years on the police force, with 6 years specifically dedicated to investigating homicides. By all accounts, they were extremely invested in the case. They were extremely kind to the family, and they were determined to figure out what happened to Laura. So um, by this point, I mean, at least we're getting somewhere. We're getting some police cooperation, and they have two
Yeah.
people that are truly invested in finding out what happened to Laura on the case.
And that's great. That's really good that they've got two people that are invested in it. But as I would look at that as it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah,
You didn't do your jobs properly in the first place, and my daughter is now dead. And so
yeah,
now sending these two guys over, it's not their fault at all, but I would be angry. I would be so angry in that now you believe us. Now you send somebody over, but it took the fact that she's dead and for you
hmm
to find her, now you deem it's okay to give us your help. Well, I would be
right.
inclined to say bollocks, and I will do this myself because I don't want your help. It's too late now. It took for her to actually be found for you to then go, "Oh, you were right." I'd be so mad. I'd be
hmm
so angry. Excuse my
No,
language.
absolutely. No, no. I mean, I'd be incensed as
I'm
well.
angry
Like
for
it's
them. I'm really angry for
yeah.
them. And I think, and also, I
No,
feel sorry for these two police officers now because they're having to go in as the face of the force, having to go in there with that facing them, that you then go in and are saying, "Look, we're really sorry about your daughter. We're going to do everything we can." And it's like, okay, well, it's not your fault, but why? Why now?
hmm
I'd be
yeah.
so mad.
Unfortunately, their investigation would hit the same sort of roadblocks that all the previous investigations would
Yeah,
hit,
I'm not surprised.
including encountering considerable resistance from certain family members of Laura's classmates. Okay.
Right.
This included the family of Laura's best friend, Anne Marie, as well as the family of Laura's boyfriend, Michael. All right. So we don't really know the backstory of why Anne Marie's family kind of put up resistance to her cooperating with the investigation. We do have some information from Michael. Obviously, Michael's was the at the time the boyfriend of Laura, so you've you have to look into him and like, hey, what was he doing on that day, and could he have been involved in some sort of activity that led to Laura's death? Now, initially, Michael did cooperate with the investigation, providing them with information about his relationship with Laura. Now, he would reveal that he dated her when he was 13 years old. So they started dating when he was 13, and that they had actually ended their relationship a few weeks prior to her disappearance. While the details surrounding their breakup, um, he's unclear of why they broke up. He would attribute to just a typical adolescence drama that kids have at that age. I mean, kids when you're 13, 14, 15, you can break up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now, Michael claimed to be unaware of Laura's fate, and he would later take to social media to express his innocence. Now, although he did admit that he did stop cooperating with the investigators, Michael stated that this only occurred after their approach grew increasingly forceful. Now, he alleged that they would frequently disrupt his school routine by pulling him out of classes to question him without his parents present.
Yeah, that's no
And
good.
the situation would further escalate when they appeared at his home, interrogating him on the front porch and accusing him of the murder.
Yeah.
Now, Michael felt that he was being coerced and threatened, leading him to cease all cooperation with the police. So
I can
obviously,
understand that.
I mean, that
Yeah, I
makes
can
sense.
understand that.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that really goes against the idea that Michael had anything to do with it, so he was 13 at the time. Michael actually was not a student at Lindenhurst High School. He was
Okay.
a student at Lindenhurst. I don't know if it was Lindenhurst Middle School or junior high. So they weren't even in the same school.
Right.
So if Laura was going around asking people to go hang out, obviously she's not asking Michael to go hang out because he's not in school with her. Is it
Yeah.
possible that they had made plans like, hey, let's meet up? But the younger kids in the junior high or middle school didn't have the same open campus as high school did.
Yeah.
So it's not like Michael would have been able to leave his school to go meet up with Laura as easily as Laura is able to leave.
Well, I mean, surely that's easy to prove his innocence. It's easy to place him at school, surely.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as hard as that seems.
Exactly. So it's interesting. I think the biggest problem now with the case is I think there's a lot of rumors going around with Laura and
Yeah.
what her activities would have been. So there are rumors that Laura by this point in the school year had started to dabble into drugs and was hanging out with some questionable people, including
Yeah.
like local drug dealers. Now, Patricia has said that she is aware of only one time where Laura had smoked marijuana, but didn't believe that she did any other drugs besides that one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I know that even though her body was in really bad shape when it was found, the I mean, really, she was nothing left.
Decomposition.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
really just
Yeah.
it was just a skeleton at this point. I found this interesting that they actually sent um, samples of her bones to a lab in Canada, which could do. Um, they used lasers to actually to determine if there's any sort of drugs in the bone itself, but they weren't able to find anything. I just found it interesting that like at this time in the mid 80s that they were doing stuff like that where they were seeing if there was any sort of signs of any drug use or if there's any drugs in their system, and they were using lasers at the time to make that determination. But of course they didn't find anything.
Yeah.
With no vital organs, they aren't able to do any
No.
toxicology reports.
Yeah.
So it's really really tough. I don't really want to get into. I mean, there are people out there who people have made suggestions could have been involved in Laura's death, but a lot of it just feels like rumor to me. There's
Yeah.
nothing really
There's no point in
substantial.
fueling that. Yeah, I agree.
So it's really tough. There are some things that I do want to mention. That is I found very strange about this case. Now, the year prior to Laura's disappearance, there was a 15-year-old girl from Lindenhurst who had gone missing almost a year before Laura. But in this case, the town actually rallied behind the family and and did everything they could to find her, and they actually did.
Yeah.
So she was found just a few weeks later in a hotel room in Queens. And it was found out that she had been kidnapped and was being forced into prostitution.
Oh,
All
see, that's
right.
what I said
So,
earlier, wasn't it? Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah. So this was so just a 1 year later, right? You have
Yeah.
another girl, 14,
From the
who
same
who
area.
who disappears. Same area,
Yeah.
disappears, but then everyone is there's this secrecy around what happened and
Yeah.
mystery, and it's like the town just completely just shut off for Laura. But the
Yeah.
year before, they're up in arms and
Nothing.
they're going out
Yeah.
and they're doing everything to find her.
Yeah.
So it's just there's just a lot of strange things that are going on with this case,
Yeah.
and this is obviously a case that can be solved. Someone out there knows what happened to her, obviously, right?
100%.
I have a I have a feeling that she she left school during her lunch break. She was with I have this feeling that she was with a group of kids. It might not have been a large group of kids. I just have this
Yeah.
feeling that she was with some sort of group and that something happened. Maybe it was completely an accident. Maybe something happened and like you said, they were messing around. They roll her up in this
Yeah.
carpet and she
Yeah.
suffocates.
It's a stupid game gone wrong.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no indication that she had been sexually assaulted. Obviously, it would be really difficult to determine that because of how her body was found. Um, you can't eliminate that as a possibility, but it's really tough. It's really tough to figure out what happened.
I mean, I think it's quite clear to say. I think it's quite obvious that there's somebody else is involved in this, whether that's one person or more than one
Hmm.
people. That more than one person. Sorry. Uh, it's quite clear that there are other people involved in this, and
Yeah.
until people start talking and allegiances change, I don't think that the information is going to come forward very easily. So I feel so bad for her family because of how close she was found to home and the
Hmm.
circumstances in which she were found, because I look at that and think this somebody else is involved in this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I get this sense that um even if police would have taken that initial call serious and they
Yeah,
did a thorough search for her, I feel like it would have been too late at that point.
yeah. But
Um
they might have found her earlier.
they Yes, absolutely. And by finding her
That's the
earlier,
really yes. We could have found out what
they
happened
would
to her.
know happened
Yeah,
to her, and then
yeah,
you would know, okay, this is what we're
yeah,
looking for. This is and
yeah.
there's probably more evidence. It could be something as simple as fingerprints being available to
Of
pull.
course, so
Uh,
much more forensic evidence, so much more available had they have just done their jobs earlier and thought about the fact that this is a 14-year-old girl and that she's gone,
mhm.
I this is a
It goes back.
horrible.
It it goes back to the simple choice
Yeah.
of saying that she had simply run away,
Yeah.
and that changed
Yeah,
everything for this case.
it did. It did.
Because if you take it serious and like, okay, something's wrong, even if you think she ran away, and you start asking kids around town, okay, well,
Yeah.
where are places that she hangs out? What's one of
Yeah.
the places that they're going to mention?
Of
The hut,
course.
right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, oh, it's determined she's run away, so
Yeah,
we
it's
don't have
no
to do
good.
anything else.
No, it's no good.
It's no, not at all. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
This is a very frustrating. Most of our cases are frustrating, but there's this one. It's just you had opportunity. You you could have done something from the very
Yeah.
beginning,
We could have done.
but
Yeah.
you left this family to do everything on their own and to suffer and to just it's really unfortunate that this happened.
Yeah.
So
It's really sad.
that is our case this week. So um, I think this one can easily be solved. It's going to take someone just coming forward with information. Um, I know there has to be hundreds of rumors going around Lindenhurst at that
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
But some of these rumors are probably dipped in truth. So we just got to go through it, and you got to figure out what really happened and who was there with her.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm sorry to her family
Yeah,
for the
and
unfortunate,
I believe Patricia's still alive. Unfortunately, Jim died in 2001, I believe. So Jim passed away
Oh
without
dear.
knowing what happened to his daughter. But we can still, this thing still be solved. You can
Yeah.
you can
Yeah, 100%.
give something.
Yeah.
Her brother and sister are still around, so it's like
Yeah.
you
The
still have the
family
opportunity
need.
to give them
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. You're true. That's true.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And obviously, when we have a case like that, it's always good at the end of the show to give you something to sort of lighten the mood a little bit. So, this is a segment we like to call The Dumb Criminal.
Hey, you's a dummy, and you's a piece of shit.
This person is an absolute dummy. You're going to love this one. So, this is a story of a guy called Wayne Elliott, who's 43 years old and should know better, to be honest. So, he decided that it would be a good idea to try and burgle a property. Now, not only did he leave empty handed from the property, but he also left behind all of his own belongings, including pictures of himself and his passport and his phone.
What? Wait, that's not how it works.
No, it's not how it works. You don't burgle somewhere and leave your own stuff there.
Wait, but why? Also, why is he bringing all this in with him?
I have no idea.
You don't need your passport.
No, I'm not sure why he even taught it with him. So basically, it was a downstairs flat that he decided to go and rob. The homeowner, it's like a mobility flat because the person uses a walking stick.
Oh, okay.
So this person confronted him because he'd got in a window of this flat. The person confronted him. He panicked and then legged it back out the window, not realizing that he had left his bag underneath the window. And in his bag was his phone with selfies of him. And now he's got these like topless selfies of himself, right? And he's like, it's not exactly a pout, but it's kind of a pout, he's taking these like kind of sexy pictures of himself, and they're not sexy at all.
Not blue steel.
Yeah, well, kind of blue steel kind of things. So the victim basically woke up, said she heard a noise, woke up, found a stranger in the house. This guy is startled, legs it out the window. She can't walk very fast. Obviously, she's got a walking stick. So she makes her way in. He's obviously panicked. And left his stuff there. So in this rucksack is his mobile phone with pictures of himself. His wallet's in there, and he's also got his passport in there. So he actually got done for burglary with intent to steal. But then he also admitted burglary at a vacant flat a few days earlier, which was unoccupied.
Oh, God.
So this guy is really not a good burglar. And he ended up getting 13 months behind bars for this. What an idiot.
Was he like on his way to Heathrow and was like, maybe we should stop and see what I can get. I need some extras for my holiday.
I have no idea. But he left everything. I don't know.
Why are you carrying around your passport?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know whether he was homeless or I'm not sure.
I was going to ask. Yeah. Well, but he has a cell phone. So obviously he's like
passport. So he's obviously bought a passport.
Right.
I don't think homeless people generally have passports, but yeah, so maybe it's just a bit of opportunity. He thought, hey, there's an open window, try my luck, leave all my gear there and run away. But he must have thought, running down the street, must have thought, oh my God, I've left all my stuff there. It's got my phone in it. It's got pictures of me. It's got my passport in it. So, like, I just don't understand.
I mean, if she was not mobile, he had the opportunity to, like, just turn around, go back, grab his stuff, and get out.
And run again because she couldn't chase after him anyway. So, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
I just thought that was a really fun one. And I've got to say thank you very much to Socks for this one, because this one was given to me on Facebook. So thank you very much, Socks, for sending me. And she's been sending me quite a few. She sent me quite a few. So I'm stocked up for a few weeks now. So if you do find a dumb criminal that you want us to use on our show, just send it to us. You can send it to us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And we'll add it to the show, because there's some brilliant ones that have been sent.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
My next one is going to be absolutely brilliant. It's going to have men crossing their legs everywhere. The next one is very funny.
Oh no!
But it wasn't appropriate for this episode. But maybe next episode we'll see. Yeah, maybe that might be a Crimepedia extra dumb criminal. I think maybe.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to thank everybody that took the time to send in an email to Alex Chalk, the Justice Secretary, because I put an appeal out on Instagram and on Facebook to ask everybody to email Alex Chalk to demand that we do not want Colin Pitchfork to be released from prison. If you don't know about Colin Pitchfork, now's not the time for me to explain it to you. Go and Google it. Have a look at my Instagram, have a look at my Facebook, and you will understand why he should not be released from prison. And thanks to everybody that sent in emails and the general public at large, Colin Pitchfork is now going to stay in prison for now, because Alex Chalk stepped in and forced the parole board to reconsider their decision to let him leave prison. So thank you to everybody for all the emails that you sent. 100% the right thing to do, and we really, really appreciate it.
That's very good. Good work.
Yeah,
everyone.
Really good. Really good. Well, thank you for joining us this week. We will be back next week with another episode. So for now, be nice.
And bye.